Now, because of the importance of that match, we will analyze it individually, and not among a series of critical moments, which we thank you for your acceptance of. Abdusattorov's match against the world champion Carlsen, the match that expressed the strength of the character of the young Uzbek hero, and undoubtedly contributed to his presentation to the world audience. Abdusattorov played with the white pieces, Carlsen was with the black pieces. As usual, Abdusattorov started the match with c4, to play the English system, and before we complete the analysis of the match, I was hoping to tell you something that I could not say in the series videos, due to the speed of the pace, which is that Abdusattorov played the English system, helped him win the championship. The system is always easier than openings, which always have complications. Abdusattorov escaped by playing his matches in the English system. Carlsen knight f6 is reply. Knight c3. e5. Knight f3. Knight c6. e4. Bishop b4. d3. d6. a3. Bishop c5. b4. Bishop b6. Can you imagine, dear viewer, that from the second move of Carlsen so far, it has the search engine movements? You can imagine the level that the world's players have now reached in terms of progress in the game, and many believe that this is what killed a lot of chess fun. We are seeing search engines that play the opposite. I see that the lack of errors in the matches and the large number of distinguished players increase the fun and excitement in the game of kings, which we saw clearly in the tournament and Abdusattorov's win in it. Knight a4. Bishop g4. Knight captures bishop. A captivate knight. Bishop b2. Bishop captures knight, and with this trading Carlsen loses the advantage of the bishops, which made him suffer throughout the match, and it was better to complete here h5. Abdusattorov complete queen capture knight. Knight d7. g3, queen f6 presenting trading in two queens. Now any chess expert of any level will tell you a simple rule: when a stronger opponent than you manipulates, try to trade pieces as much as possible. And not only that, but the search engine suggests that too, but Abdusattorov rebelled against that rule and refused to trade and played queen d1. Knight f8 bishop g2 is getting ready to complete the castling. Knight e6 castling g5. Bishop h6, despite the importance of that bishop in protecting the king, he decided to trade him for that strong knight crouching on the e6 square. And what helped him in making this decision was Carlsen abandoning his bishops at the beginning of the match. h5. Attempt to complete storm pawns on castling. Bishop captivates knight as expected. Queen captivates bishop b5. Knight b8. f4, which is the move that the search engine suggested since the last move, and the young boy played it boldly, although it opens a file to the king as he plays the world champion at a sensitive time in the tournament. G captivate f4. G captivate f4. Knight d7 to improve the position of his rider, who was bad with Abdusattorov's great move. King h1 to protect the king from any expected attack. Queen g4 for the second time. Carlsen offers Abdusattorov queen's trade. Queen f3 f6 queen e3 castling f5. Although the search engine suggested in more than one previous move f4 captures e5, the purpose of that move we will understand later. h4 rook g1 queen h5 rook g6. Now we know the purpose of pushing the pawn. Rook dg8 rook g1 rook captures rook pawn captures rook. Now Abdusattorov succeeded in making a passable pawn. Rook g8 g7 queen h7 to eliminate that dangerous pawn. Queen h3. Now Abdusattorov finds enough compensation for his lost dangerous pawn. In fact, it's his plan from the start. Rook captures pawn rook captures rook queen captures rook queen captures pawn. Knight c5. Carlsen is trying to develop that poor and weak knight from the first match. Bishop c1. Abdusattorov responds by developing his own bishop to f6. Carlsen tries to weaken Abdusattorov's powerful pawn structure to make his own passable pawn to save his match. Pawn captures pawn captures pawn. Queen h3 check king b7 queen f3 to make way to advance his powerful pawn. Queen h7. Bishop d2. King a6. King g2. Abdusattorov would not be able to push the pawn without the help of the king. Queen g7 check. Carlsen understand what Abdusattorov wants and wants to isolate the king from the pawn. King f1. Queen h7 to press the pawn. h3 to protect it and gain space in it. d5. Almost every opportunity Carlsen tries to weaken the pawn structure of Abdusattorov. He fights to the last. Queen f5. Now Abdusattorov offers to trade queens, but it is a fatal trade. If Carlsen accepts it, he will lose the match. The pawn of the h is far from the knight and the king, and Carlsen will not be able to prevent him from being promoted. So play queen g8. c4 captivates d5. c6 captivates d5. e captivate d5. Queen captures pawn. King e2 after Abdusattorov protected the threatening pawn of d, his queen became threatening of the pawn of f. Now the search engine is suggesting a move for Carlsen, who is queen g2 check king d1 is now Carlsen threatening the h's pawn with the queen and the d's pawn with the knight. Now Carlsen has the move queen a2 check. King f3. Queen captures pawn. Queen captures pawn. Queen captures pawn. Queen captures pawn. In an even position. But Carlsen played queen g7 check. Bishop f2. King a4. Leave the pawn and gain a move with pawn h4 is now safe and can move its queen anywhere. e4. Pawn captures pawn. Knight captures pawn. Now it's the f's pawn safely. Queen f3 offers to trade queens again, and he would have won the match if Carlsen accepted her with the next moves. Queen captivates queen. King captures queen. Now the knight is threatened by the king and the b's pawn is threatened by the bishop, and if he decides to exchange the knight and the bishop lose the match, he will not be able to prevent the h's pawn from being promoted. That's why Carlsen refused to trade and play queen g6. h5, a wonderful move played by Abdusattorov, a new step towards a great victory. Queen e8 is now the threat discovering check. Now Abdusattorov, bishop e3 responded, a move with two benefits, the first of which was protecting the king from Carlsen's attack, and the second, paving the way for h6. Carlsen had 52 seconds left and took 32 seconds to think and played f5 here to protect the knight, but he actually missed a chance to win or at least draw. You can pause the video for a moment and think about the winning move. Of course, dear Board and Fire viewers, the move is a wonderful sacrifice for the queen. A queen captures pawn of the h. Of course, if a queen captures queen, knight g3 fork. King f3. Knight captures queen. Bishop captures pawn. King captures pawn, and the match will most likely end in a draw. Now back to the game where Carlsen played f5. h6 as expected. Queen e5. I can't say here that the reason for this move is pawn protection, because of course if Abdusattorov plays queen captures pawn he will lose the match with the move knight g3 fork. King f1 to untie the bishop and keep away from any sudden traps from Carlsen, and for another reason we will see shortly. Queen d5. King g2. Queen g8 check. King h3 journey with the king to activate him, while the king of Carlsen is far from the theater of operations even if he will win a pawn. Knight g5 checks to force him to trade his bishop or lose his queen. Carlsen has suffered for more than 40 moves after he voluntarily relinquishes his bishops. Bishop captivates knight. Queen captivates bishop. Queen c5 check and protect his strong pawn. King captures pawn. Now Carlsen is superior to a pawn. Instead of Abdusattorov getting his pawn back, he played queen c3 check. King a4. Queen c4 check. What Abdusattorov wants is he gives Carlsen the chance to protect the pawn. King a5. Queen c3 check. King a4. Queen g7 threatens the queen of Carlsen, who of course can't trade now, and plays queen e3 check. King h4. f4. Queen d7 check. b5. h7. Queen e5. King g4. f3. Leaving a pawn free is one of the tricks that players play to waste opponents' time, but not with the incrementing seconds system, so Carlsen did it to make Abdusattorov's king naked and wear him with repeated checks. And Abdusattorov's challenge will be to secure the king from repeated checks, as he is in a sure win position. Will he succeed in that? King captures pawn. Queen f6 check. King e4. Queen h4 check. King d5. Queen h5 check. King c6. Queen g6 check. King c7. Queen g3 check. King b7. Queen f3 check. King a6. Queen f6 check. King a7. Queen f2 check. King b7. Queen f3 check. Queen c6. Queen f7 check. Queen c7. Queen f3 check. King a6. Queen a8 check. King b6. Queen h8. Queen c2 check. King a3. Queen d3 check. King a2. King c5. And here Carlsen made the mistake that cost him the match and played before. Can you find the move with which Abdusattorov won the match with it? Yes, dear viewers, it is queen d2 check. Carlsen could have extended the match with the move king a3, but he played king a1. Abdusattorov ended Carlsen's hopes in the match with the move queen d4 check. Forced to trade queens, Carlsen resign, and Abdusattorov promote his pawn to a queen and easily wins the match. A wonderful match for a rising star in the sky of world chess. When you see his emotional stability while playing the world champion, You will not be surprised how he won the championship while he is still at such a young age after conquering the best players in the world. We hope at the end of this video that we have entertained you and provided you with the most just thing that man has done in history chess. Do not forget to honor us by joining the channel, and pressing the like button. Your support is the most important thing that drives us forward.